Good evening, everybody. This is Morbid. You're listening to the Pulpit of Doom podcast, episode 12, the official podcast of DreaminDemon.com. And tonight with me, I have Old Man Metal. And you might want to repeat that because I didn't unmute you.
Hey, hope everyone's doing well tonight. Take two.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. Jaded she says she will be with us. She's running late. Pagan is always running late, and I don't know if he will be with us tonight or not. But for those who are joining us for the first time, this is the official podcast of DreaminDemon.com, where normally we talk about the top 10 horrible stories that we reported on the site for the week. That will usually filter off into a variety of different topics. So we got a good bit this week, even though I didn't get anything posted today.
We got some strong stories. We got a good stable this week.
Yeah, it wasn't a good week. I was a little under the weather for a couple days there, and then I got tied up with some external stuff, and it just kept me from getting anything done these last 2 days. But hey, we made it through the week, and here we are again for another podcast. I don't think we've missed one now for a month or two. I think
Been going good.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can keep it going. I'm thinking that this may be the night. Fridays at 10:30s. I think that's going to end up working better for everybody. I know with Jaded, because she's out on the West Coast, and we're over here on the better East Coast, that the time kind of cuts it short for her. But man, I don't want to be podcasting until 1 o'clock in the morning. But I could bump it to 11 o'clock, but I think 10:30 is fine, and then we'll just aim for the cutoff at 12 o'clock as normal.
Well, 10:30 on Friday works for me, but Saturday works for me too, either or.
So. Same here. It looks like you and me are the ones with the open schedules, and everybody else has other life shit going on the weekends.
Well, it's poor bastards.
I know, right? So, let's see here. We're going to talk about some stories. I was hoping Jada will pop on here in a little bit because I got a couple books that I haven't recommended to her, but I figured I would recommend to everybody. I'm on my third one. I kind of went on a blitz over the last month on books, and but I know some people will start seeing it, and I guess it's okay to say it here because there's not going to be a lot of people listening in regards to what they may see on the site when they just start seeing it, is we're going to get back to doing some of the, not necessarily in-depth reviews, but more like recommendations on some of the things we used to talk about aside from murder and baby rape, and we used to do a lot of horror movie and books and music type recommendations and reviews. And Old Man Metal, as you can tell by his name, is a metal fan, and he's already contributed a few metal type, but yours are actually reviews. I guess they're recommendations, but they read like reviews to me. They were pretty good.
Well, I appreciate that. I think they're too weak to be called reviews. I'm not. That's the little talking monkey thing that I can do as far as talking about albums goes. There's some, I've got to where I write a really good beer review. I've got about 250 of them on Beer Advocate, but I haven't gotten to where I do what I feel like are good reviews. But I think in terms of a brief description and helping people figure out what it's all about, I think it's probably pretty good.
And
so
for our
we'll
site
see.
and our audience in general, I think it works out. It will work out really well. And I don't know why the fuck my volume is down again. It's like every time Microsoft does an update, it fucks with my microphone. And I'm going to warn you now, there is a storm that just came through here. We're getting them every evening, and I lose internet connection every single time. So hopefully that won't happen, but we're going to see.
Fingers crossed. That happens around here too. Sometimes you get some storms this time of year, and that's just how it is.
Well, it's fucking Spectrum. That's who I'm stuck with for internet. And
Yeah, I know Spectrum. We used to be Time Warner, and we racked up the reputation for customer service in the industry, so we changed our name. I know them.
Well, yeah, for whatever reason, because they suck so bad. Yeah, I got everything maxed up to 100%, so I don't know what the hell the problem is. All right, well, I'll worry about that later. I'm not going to try to troubleshoot it tonight.
I don't know. Your volume levels sound fine to me.
All right. I'm just looking at a meter here. But whatever. I'll worry about that later. But yeah, like what I was saying is, we do have a slew of movie and book reviews on the site. I just stopped doing them a long time ago when I wasn't even having enough time to put up regular articles. I figured I needed to focus on the bread and butter. And then the reviews kind of went to the wayside. But I'd like to bring all that stuff back and bring in a better mix of things, because we have a hell of a time with advertising because of our subject matter. And not that this would be any type of cash grab, but I think if we can get kind of a mix, and at least if somebody's looking, they would be, oh, well, it's not all about, child molesters. Look, there's a music review in there.
There's some death metal over here. That makes it that much better.
Right. But I figured if we could pull in an audience if we've got something worthwhile to say about the topics, and from the album reviews I read of yours they were worthwhile to read for me. Now, I don't particularly like that music, but I liked what you were saying about it. So I think that could work across the board. I like movies a lot of people don't like either.
Right.
But anyway, okay, let's go on here and at least start so we don't run too late. Oh, yeah, the number 10 story for the week was the one out of Tampa, Florida, and I know there was an update to this because I saw a headline for it. But this is, let me pull this up here real quick. I done lost it.
This guy, it's Brian Sebring.
Yeah, and, it's the guy out of Tampa, Florida. I saw. He's the guy that he got in an argument with somebody on Facebook, and when I wrote it, their relationship wasn't known what their actual relationship was. But I think with the update that I read, it turned out that it was a stranger. It was they weren't friends or anything like that. Okay, finally I got it up and running now.
So it was just a Facebook beef that turned into someone getting shot.
Correct.
Basically.
Absolutely. And what I had initially was kind of staying away from was the fact that some of the headlines were calling him a Democrat, and that the argument was about Trump, and that's what spurned this. And Sebring being the Democrat, and he's the one that there wasn't any info on exactly what the argument was about or anything like that. It wasn't until an update came out that, yeah, it was definitely over Trump, because I went over to his page and I couldn't find anything to where they were arguing. So I guess the argument was somewhere else on Facebook, maybe somebody else's comment. I mean, you can't go to anybody's profile anymore without seeing some type of political or Trump-related post on somebody's page. So I think that's where the argument started. But he got so pissed off, he actually drove 2 miles away from his home to the other gentleman's home, whose name was
Alex Stevens.
Thank you. And went there with a Glock and an AR-15, I think it said, in his truck, and pulled into Stevens' driveway, honked the horn, and when Stevens came out, supposedly Stevens was ready to go, and he came charging towards the truck, and that's when Sebring opened fire on him and hit him in the leg and in the ass, then left, and I guess he ended up turning himself into police, and Stevens, it wasn't life-threatening. It was just a bullet in the ass. But still, he got shot,
Yeah.
And
over an online argument.
Over an online argument, which is where shit's been heading. And I didn't see the actual proof of this, but some of the comments I saw that said that Stevens had just recently lost his wife. And I think this was spurned by also during the argument. I guess Stevens was sending Sebring some threats through DMs of some type. So anyway, Sebring, because of this, has been charged, and I don't know if there's been an update. I know there's been an update to this, and if you can pull one up while I'm going to play this video real quick.
I'll take a look.
All right, I'll play this real quick.
Well, Sebring definitely looks like a putz, for whatever that's worth.
I saw some people that were saying I think some people on Facebook, because I didn't specify he was a Democrat, because I didn't know that for a fact, even though some headlines were saying he was. I just didn't want to put it in there. It turned out to be wrong.
Sure.
But some people were assuming he was the Trump supporter, the shooter. But even I, not to get into any type of political discussion or show my hand in regards to anything, but any violence I've been seeing online or on the news has not really been coming from the Trump side. I mean, I'm not saying that they're innocent of anything. I'm just meaning most of the violent actions I see are coming from the quote-unquote liberal side. So I wasn't necessarily surprised that the shooter turned out to be the peaceful, Democrat. So I was kind of surprised that some people just automatically assumed otherwise.
That's certainly the way it turned out in this case.
Yes, it did. And I'm going to let this ad play through before I move on. And I got ad blocking. I used to have it to where these advertisements would not come up on the videos, but I don't know what's happened. All right, here we go.
Brook Resort. 4 championship golf courses.
No, still talking about golf courses.
1 short drive away.
Huh.
Come stay for the
So
weekend
I'm seeing a mugshot
course
for Alex Stevens here.
Yeah, he had a prior criminal record.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where they're pulling that picture from. Here we go.
Fight over politics leads to a social media show to in person in a matter of minutes, and one guy ended up with bullets in his backside. News Channel 8's Melanie Michael joins us now live in South Tampa with exclusive video of this violence.
Wow, okay. Got a little bit more detail
This was
here.
certainly a wild one. It was a feud on Facebook, and it did end in person. The feud on Facebook caught on camera, a bird's eye view from a neighbor nearby. Everyone thought they were hearing firecrackers. They never expected the noise outside would be 2 buddies battling over Facebook.
I was just thinking it had to be fireworks. I thought it was 4th of July.
And I'm pausing the video for a second. They're being very lighthearted about it. The newscasters, they're almost treating this almost like this is a fluff piece of some type.
Wow.
But anyway, I was going to say something, but I would just wonder what would happen if the roles had been reversed. Would they be smiling and stuff while they're talking about this story? And anyway. Well,
so the additional detail that I found is on the Washington Post, and it says that it's I guess it's political to some extent, but it doesn't sound like a I hate your guy, you hate my guy type thing. So apparently Sebring was on Facebook, and he was bad-mouthing felons who couldn't vote, quote unquote, talking about the fact that in some states, people convicted of certain crimes can permanently lose their right to vote, and in most states, if you're convicted of a felony, at minimum, you have to go back and get your record expunged to get your right to vote back. So Sebring was on Facebook bad-mouthing felons who can't vote, and Stevens was a felon who had served several stints in state prison for drug-related stuff, marijuana, cocaine possession. And I guess he didn't like that very much. And then it says that Stevens had been allegedly, and all this is alleged, obviously, apparently Stevens had been threatening Sebring's wife and autistic son, and gave him his address and said, "Come on over, and I'll fuck you up." And Sebring said, "Dude, I'm going to empty a full 5.56 magazine into your head." So he's talking about the AR-15, and he grabbed that thing and went out there, and then it went down from there. So apparently it was the one guy running his mouth about convicted criminals or convicted felons, and Sebring went over there and went nuts.
Yeah, I know some people were talking about stand your ground law, but and it kind of got into a gray area with some of the discussions I'm seeing, because you can't. I'm curious how the law would work. That if you and me got in an argument over Rat's first album, right? And we start trading barbs back and forth, and you say, "Yeah, motherfucker, well, come over here and let's do something about it." And I go, "All right," and I load up my firearms and I drive over to your house, and you come out, and then I shoot you. Is that stand your ground if I'm the one that came to your house looking to fight?
So I don't know Florida law like I do North Carolina law. In North Carolina, if you, for example, you say something offensive to someone and they punch you and you pull out a pistol and shoot them, you're going to be in the wrong because you instigated the situation. You would have to, completely back down and try to get out of that situation. So if one guy goes over there because he's going to kick the other guy's ass and the other guy has sent him an address and said, come on over here. I think he'd have a hard argument if he out towards the guy's truck saying it was a stand your ground shooting. And I'm not saying it couldn't go that way, but there's a lot of stuff that's been done wrong on both sides there. If you show up in someone's driveway armed, ready to fight, then I don't see in North Carolina. I don't think that would pass the test for our stand your ground laws.
Yeah. No.
But we'll see. I mean, it comes up to for one the local police or the DA, are they even going to charge them? They might just say, well, whatever.
I saw he made a comment on another article somewhere that Sebring had made a comment that he had let the rage overtake him or something to that effect.
Yeah, it says here he added that, quote, I could lose my temper like that and do something so stupid, unquote, which it should concern him. I mean, that should definitely concern him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think he's married with kids, like you said. So, I mean, it's just, it was just so retarded. I couldn't imagine. I'm not saying I couldn't imagine shooting somebody. I just couldn't imagine I can't imagine how angry people get over this political stuff online now. Is just absolutely nuts to me. We've been arguing religion and politics and video games and God knows any topic you can think of in our forums specifically. We've argued about everything, heated arguments, but at no point or unless, of course, I don't know who the other person is at the other monitor, but I never took anything. My blood pressure didn't rise a tick. Who gives a shit? I guess I just can't fathom people like this. I don't know if these people have turned crazy after the elections, or if it's just bringing out people who were already crazy. I don't know which one it is.
I think in this case, you've got a 44-year-old and a 46-year-old that are both still in friggin' sixth grade, because that's grade school playground bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you're in sixth grade, it's fine. If you want to kick someone's ass over, which one is the best Smurf, whatever and shit kids argue about now.
Well, Pagan, he has a lot of fun posting pro-Trump stuff on his personal Facebook page, and he gets into a lot of arguments with other people in regards to that. But he's more or less, he's being serious, but he's more or less kind of jabbing a little bit because he knows he can rile them up.
Right.
But just how angry these people get and the arguments that he can start just from posting like a meme of some type that's pro-Trump and the arguments that these people get into get really personal and really nasty. And I have watched people who we went to high school with, who have been friends, since high school, just completely disavow each other over political arguments on fucking Facebook. It's just been a crazy phenomenon to watch. I mean, I saw a lot of this. It wasn't political, but the online mob mentality that you see so much of now for a variety of different reasons, not always political. We saw this coming 10 years ago, and I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I could almost pinpoint it, and it was it was when Anonymous got involved in the Steubenville rape case. That's when we first started seeing people weaponizing basically Twitter followers at that point in time, and start meddling in criminal investigations, and not to good effect. So we started trying to distance ourselves from that a little bit, because we just didn't want to be we're just here to report the news and discuss it because it's interesting. It's a morbidly fascinating topics. We weren't here to start trying to get justice or meddle in the justice system in any way. I mean, I can't help if our followers or fans wanted to do that, but we sure as hell weren't going to direct anybody to do that. And that's kind of why I stopped posting people's Facebook pages, even if you could find them. Sometimes we would, just depends on what they did. But a lot of times I quit doing it because people do stupid shit sometimes, and I don't necessarily think that, depending on the crime, that they should have to pay for that for the rest of their entire lives. God knows I did some dumb shit, and I ran afoul of the law back in the day. I sure as hell wouldn't still want to be paying for that 20 years later over something stupid. And I'm not talking about child rapists or murderers or wife beaters or what have you. I'm just talking about people that did something and they made the news because of just how goddamn stupid it was, you know. So we get a lot of people that send us messages. I get them. Hell, we just got one today where they ask us to remove articles, and because it happened like in 2009, and they got drunk and were naked and got in a fight with a cop or something. Great story in 2009. You know, should we continue to have this article up because this poor lady is job hunting, and you search her name and we're the site that comes up with her mugshot and what she did from, 10 years ago almost.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
Yeah, we
Fair
just remove it, no questions asked. I mean,
our whole justice system is supposed to be based on the concept that people can pay for their crimes and then move forward. That's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't always work that way, but I mean, the concept of redemption is certainly part of the way we are supposed to be doing things in this country. So.
Correct. And now, in some cases, we won't remove them.
Sure.
I don't care if they served their time, if it was a child abuser or something to that effect. I'll leave it up there. And of course, we still get arguments from them that they've served their time and blah blah blah. And by leaving it up, it's we get the ill-informed saying that it's illegal and whatnot, but it's not, because for the most part we're not judging their guilt or innocence. We're reporting on their arrest. So even in some cases where some people are found innocent, we don't necessarily follow every single story to find out. I mean, that'd be thousands and thousands of people that we've reported on. How the fuck would we keep up with all of them to know who is judged innocent or not? So the ones that will contact us and say, "Hey, I was found innocent," we'll take it down for the most part. But some of them we don't, and it just pretty much depends on what they were accused of, and we just use our better judgment. But they want to try to get us for libel or whatnot, or defamation or whatever word they want to try to use on us. But the point stands, we weren't saying they were guilty or innocent. We were saying you were arrested and charged. There's no defamation or libel there. That happened. It's right there in the news. So we don't necessarily have to remove it. But
we got a link right there to the article.
Yeah. So, but it depends on who the person is. And I see Jaded's joined, but I know we've had some subjects come through our forums, especially that we've reported on.
Hey, Jaded.
Hi.
That have been a absolute laugh riot with them trying to prove their innocence and actually just make their entire situation so much worse, to the point that the prosecutors in their cases have contacted us. I don't remember who those people were, Jay, but we had one guy in particular that was just, he's notorious on the site for what he came in and tried to do. I think he came in trying to pretend to be somebody else.
Wasn't he like a necrophiliac too?
No, that guy actually, he did. That guy was after me for a long time, and he finally figured out he was trying to get us to remove an article. And we were getting side messages from people involved with this person and I don't remember all the details now, but it was pretty much, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jaded, it was pretty clear cut. This guy was taking pictures of dead people's junk in the morgue. And
yes,
that was pretty clear cut. It just wasn't legally clear cut. So we were continuing to leave the article up because it was just on his arrest. And he tried to get that article taken down, and he sicked a lawyer on us that I think we found out was a relative. and I have a lawyer relative of my own that we had respond back. And so that went on and on until finally he figured out a way to get that article taken down. That pissed me off so bad. He didn't get it taken down for good, but he did get it. He did end up getting it taken down. And I don't want to say it on air because I don't want anybody fucking around with me and getting it done again. But
right,
it was.
Well, then you'll have to let me know because I must have forgot.
I'll let you know. I'll when we go off, I'll tell you how he did it. It was pretty good, but it didn't last long. It was like a few days. We were able to get it back up again.
Right back to the front page.
Yeah,
where you'd worked your way back down off the front page, but now you're back up there.
Our favorite ones are the ones that come in and go, "Y'all need to shut your fucking mouth. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all need to quit talking about my baby mama cousin or whatever." And they're yelling about an article from 2009 that nobody commented on since 2009, and then they bring it right to the fucking front of the front page.
Open up a can of worms.
Yep.
We will jump back on it.
Okay, so that was Mr. Sebring losing his shit.
The AR-15 Politico Bandit.
The next one was yours. That was the masturbating bicyclist out there in Houston, Texas.
Yeah. So about 5:15 afternoon, people are coming home from good, hardworking people. They're coming home to the neighborhood in Houston. It's the Golf Crest neighborhood, and this jackass is riding down the road, masturbating on a bicycle. Which I'm gonna give the guy credit. I think that probably takes a lot of coordination. I'm pretty certain I couldn't do that. I'd probably break my neck. I'm not gonna try. But anyhow, no one wants to see that. This guy is riding down the road, spanking it, and there's
Jaded
a lady
wants to see it.
It depends on what the mugshot looks like, and I'm not seeing a mugshot.
Yeah,
so I cannot.
Texas isn't good about that. I couldn't find one.
I can't say yes or no. I wouldn't mind seeing him pounding his pud while he's riding down the street.
What if he's just like a real old guy?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm guessing it was probably the old crazy dude that everyone knows in the neighborhood. That I'm just guessing because, like Morbid said, there's no mugshot. But so there's a resident taking out her trash, and this guy comes riding by. That's what she gets to see. And I mean, when you see the video, it's not the hood, but it's also a neighborhood where you can tell people work hard that live there, and the lady's yard that was accosted by this guy is very nice, well kept. So it's not like this guy's wheeling around the projects. He's wheeling around in a neighborhood with good, hardworking people. And this lady's taking her trash out. He wants to get her to join in somehow or other, and she tells him, "Get the hell away from my house." And he apparently tried to open the door to go into the house, and she told him, "If you don't get out of here, I'm gonna get a gun." And went in the house and got a gun, and he didn't listen and went to open the door, and she shot his ass right through the door, blasted him in the chest. And it looked from the video, it looked like he made it about 5 doors down, got back on the bike, rode about, it looked like again about five, 6 houses down, and collapsed. And the cops came, and the EMS came, and they took him away. And the folks in the neighborhood were very supportive of her. In the video, you'll see if you watch it on the site. Some of her neighbors, they interview them, and they're like, "Yeah, I'd have done the same thing, someone's entering your house, and this again was in Texas where they have the castle law. She was, I'm sure, perfectly within her rights to shoot him. He was trying to come in. He'd been told not to come in, and that doesn't even probably matter. And the guy lived. They took him to the hospital. At press time, as they said, there was no word on his condition, but if they get you to the hospital, a lot of times they can pull you through. The one thing I've got to say as a responsible gun owner, what she did shooting through a door where she couldn't see him does violate one of the tenets of gun safety, which is never put your finger on the trigger until you're sure of your target. But I'm going to say that, when someone's opening your door, you've got a pretty good damn idea of where they are behind that door. And she definitely drilled him. So, I'm not going to give her too hard of a time. I just feel like I've got to say that.
Oh, yeah. No, she got lucky.
She was an older woman, right?
She looked to be probably in her early 60s to me. And the other thing is, this guy, this is not his first time running around this neighborhood. The week before, he'd been arrested for running around butt naked in the same neighborhood. So, like I said in the write-up, people get tired of that shit real quick.
I'm surprised they didn't have his
mugshot. Somebody needs to rein in
mugshot.
their uncle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm surprised they didn't have his mugshot. I know Texas they're not notorious for not posting mugshots, but for a guy that's already been, had a problem running around naked in this neighborhood, you would think that they would be glad to stick his face out there, especially since he's going to be out eventually. I don't think that this is a long. Well, I don't know. It depends on what they try to charge him with. Can you get charged with like burglary or breaking and entering or whatever if all you were trying to do was open the door but didn't get in the house?
So in North Carolina, that would be unlawful entry. Breaking and entering is where is breaking and entering. Like if the door was locked and you forced your way in, if the house is secure and you break into it, then that's breaking and entering. If the door's open and you're not supposed to be in the house and you open the door and step through the door, that's unlawful entry, and it's not as severe a crime, but it is still something that you can be arrested for. And again, in Texas with the castle law, and in North Carolina too. If someone is coming into your house, you've got the presumption that you're defending yourself. And in North Carolina, it's and I'm going to say I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just in all this. I'm stating my understanding of what state laws are, because God forbid I practice law without a license. I'm not doing that. But in North Carolina, the way the laws are written, even if someone opens the door and has not broken the plane of the door and come into your house, if they are breaking in or not supposed to be there, then you are, under the way the law is written, justified in defending yourself. And I'm sure Texas, it's the same way, because it's Texas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think burglary is just being in somewhere you're not supposed to be at. So you can still get the unlawful entry and a burglary charge if you're actually in the place. You don't actually have to steal something to get charged with burglary. I think you just have to be in somewhere you're not supposed to be.
Okay.
I think I remember that from another article, but again, like you said, I am nowhere close to a lawyer. I have
We're just commentators.
We just running our mouths.
Yep.
Next one was the oh wow, the stories have already changed just immediately. Huh.
Wow, I'm going to refresh here so I know what the heck we're doing.
Yeah, we've just lost the two we just talked about. Now we've got the.
I'm still seeing them.
Well, let me see here.
I just refreshed.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't think.
Because it's masturbating bicyclist and then road douche in Durham.
Yeah, but meth missing came up, and that wasn't there before.
Yeah, that's it. It replaced one of them. Yeah, the next two were yours. One was the man who's called the cops because his meth was missing. There wasn't much to say about it, but
I've got a problem here because I'm not seeing that. But that's fine. I can certainly refreshing, and it doesn't matter. But so yeah, this is one of those stupid little stories that I picked it because the fact that the cops didn't arrest the guy, that was the hook for me. I mean, it's a dude with meth, a stupid dude who some of his meth turns up missing, and he calls the cops because he wants them to find out who stole it and arrest him. People do dumb shit. People call cops for stupid reasons, and they usually get arrested for it. But this guy, to call the cops when you're missing meth, and I'll give him credit. He could have gotten mad and killed everyone else in the house or something like that. But he didn't. He called the cops, and the cops come over, and they're like, well, maybe you just lost it. We'll help you look for it. And that's brilliant. I mean, I can see that. Cops are the guy calls them up. They know there's meth somewhere. Shit, yeah, we'll help you find it. No problem.
Yeah.
So they look everywhere and they don't find it. They go through the house. It said in the article they search the property. So they look everywhere. They don't find any meth. And they're probably getting ready to go now. It's a wild goose chase. And they're thinking this asshole meth head, he's wasting our time on purpose probably. So a woman in the house hands the cops a little baggie of meth. And she says, well, I was hiding it from him so he wouldn't use it. And so now, what I would expect to happen is she gets arrested for possession, because that's exactly what it is. She's in possession of meth right in front of these cops. And any cops I've ever known and any cops I've ever seen on cops or anything like that, they would have arrested her ass. And so you think they found the missing meth, and the dude's like, no, that's not my meth. That's somebody else's meth. And they're like, well, okay, fine. We're taking the meth. We're going to have to take the meth and destroy it. And you guys have a nice day. And they left.
South Carolina, man.
I'm telling you, Case, South Carolina, Casey. I don't know how it's pronounced, Cayce, but I guess it's It's not too bad to have meth there. You just have to say, "Hey, it ain't mine, man."
Yeah, that's
and,
it.
And I've never seen that work before. That was the hook to me on that story. Pretty straightforward.
And then the Durham one was pretty interesting because I guess there was a notorious road rage driver that had been terrorizing the streets, and so the community had gotten together online to track this guy down and get him arrested.
Yeah, and this was something that wasn't on my radar. I hadn't seen anything about this until just recently, and it's apparently been going on for a number of years. It goes back to as far back as 2016, as far as I could determine. There's an area of Durham. It's up north, I believe, of I-85. It's the Guest Road area, and people started encountering this driver, this road rage guy, and the stuff he was doing was just some of the most outrageous stuff I've heard of a road rage driver doing. And he's doing this stuff consistently. And more people are encountering this guy. And there was one example, a guy named David Waters, that I felt like was a typical example. So that's what I used in the write-up. He's literally driving home from church. It's a Sunday. He's driving home from church, and he stops to take a turn onto a side road. And this guy behind him gets pissed off and starts laying on his horn, which, that's out of line right there. You're taking a turn. That's what the hell does the guy expect? So he makes his turn, and this guy turns and follows him and then passes him at a high rate of speed across a double yellow, which is a no passing zone. You're not supposed to do that, usually for good reason. And then he gets in front of the guy and slams on his brakes. And, Waters felt like he was trying to get him to hit him. Waters manages to stop without hitting the guy. And this guy actually gets out of his car, stops his car, puts it in park, gets out and pops his trunk like he's going for a weapon. So Waters starts to call the police, which, I think anyone would have done, certainly appropriate. Some people might have done more, which, until the guy pulls a weapon out, you're messing up if you do that. But at the same time, people do what they do. And so the dude gets back in his car when he sees Waters dial 911 and drives on down the road. Waters follows him in as far as they're going the same way. He wasn't following him, but until their paths diverged, he's behind the guy. The guy's brake checking him the whole time. So that's just an example of the type stuff this guy was doing. So by February 17, it was to the point that the Durham County Sheriff's Office and the Durham PD were putting out warnings on social media about this guy. That's how bad it was. The cops in the Sheriff's Office were talking about this guy online and telling people, hey, look out for this guy, and we want to find him. So in March of 2017, an officer lucked up and got some of the guy's assholery on dash cam, and he ended up getting charged with reckless driving and driving too closely. And we've got a link to the video on the website.
I've been playing it while you've been talking. It's the dash cam that the officer was taking of this jackass driving, and yeah, he's an asshole. Yeah.
So you see this guy's doing this to scores of people, and so they finally get him in March, and you think, okay, we're going to get some justice here. Well, his lawyer drags it out. Apparently, in August 2017, he was involuntarily committed to Duke Hospital, and his lawyer made as much hay out of that as he could. And the defense expert said he's not able to stand trial, and then a prosecution expert said, well, yeah, that's not true. He's fine. He can stand trial, and then that won out. So in February, he cuts a deal, and they give him, for all this stuff he's doing, they give him 60 days jail time suspended, so no active jail time, no license for 6 months, 18 months supervised probation, 50 hours community service, mental assessment, and counseling. And he needs both of these, obviously, from watching the bullshit that he's doing. So that was not good enough for him. He appealed, and this to me was funny as shit. The next judge looked at the case, and she was like, yeah, I don't agree with the sentence either. I think it's too light. So she yanked his license for another year and doubled his community service. So that was what his appeal got him. But at the same time, he's not going to do any active jail time. The dude, obviously, whatever's wrong with him, he needs some help. He needs to be somewhere where he can get some help, or he's going to kill someone, kill himself, kill someone, probably kill someone else. But David Waters had talked to an assistant district attorney, and the guy said, look, you can go to a magistrate and you can square out a warrant against this guy yourself. And that's what he did. And because of that, the guy went on trial again, and he actually was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon, which was his vehicle, and reckless driving. And he drew 150 days in jail and another 18 months of probation, which unfortunately would run concurrently. So that means it's still just 18 months of probation. And he appealed that. This guy he obviously doesn't want to go to jail, and it's probably best if he doesn't. His first name is Maurice, and the way he acts, he's obviously got something wrong with him, and he probably wouldn't fare too well in jail. So, so when the story published, he had tried to cut a deal that would avoid jail time, and there was he was in front of a judge, a Superior Court judge, Vince Rozier, and Judge Rozier said, "I don't like that plea deal because you're getting off even better than you did the first time you did this, and you should get punished more the second time you get convicted of something." So it's been continued, and we'll watch it and we'll see where it goes. But obviously, from watching the video, this dude, like I said, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he needs help, and he needs to. I think he needs to do some time. I think, and the other thing I didn't mention, this guy didn't just start driving like an asshole. He has driving while license revoked convictions as far back as January 2003. And that means that prior to January 2003, he had done something assholish enough to get his license revoked. And they don't just revoke your license for running a stop sign in North Carolina. They got a point system. You got to do a lot of shit to get your license revoked in this state. And so this guy, since 2013, that's 15 years ago, he was road douching around Durham. So
I thought it was Morbid.
No, well, see, listen, and I do have a very bad road rage, but I don't drive like an asshole like that. It's assholes
Sure
like
you
that.
don't.
I don't. It's people like this that give me road rage. I mean, even where I've got it paused right now on the picture currently showing, jackasses like that are all on your bumper for just being aggressive just drive me absolutely nuts, especially me because I'm already speeding. I don't know. I guess it's one of these rare occasions where an online group of people actually did something good.
Yeah, the mob won one for once.
Yes, it did. Now, this reminds me of something that you would have done, Jaded, especially back when you would drive that van around. This is what I would see you doing, just right on someone's ass.
Next.
There's a flag on the play.
All right, this one's out of Oklahoma. Not much to say about this one. Pretty much, I think that we can almost cut and paste this article and just swap out names when it happens.
And sometimes species.
Actually, this is the first miniature pony.
You are right. Yes, it is the first miniature pony, and the only
So
weird
he's starting small.
right.
Well, he might not be a very big dude. So
That is very
Hey,
true.
we've had guys that use buckets to get up to that shit.
That is true too.
So
We did. We had a guy that used a bucket to get up on that. But this is out of Enola, I guess, Oklahoma, where an Oklahoma utility worker by the name of Tyler Joseph Schlosser was fucking a miniature horse in broad daylight. It was in full view because there were neighbors filming him as they called police. And said
and
that
that in itself is fucking weird. I'm sorry.
that's
I'm so sorry.
animal
That's
porn.
fucking bizarre.
That is animal pornography. It's illegal, and they ought to charge those damn neighbors.
Well, you know what? The more I think about it, he did break the mold in almost every case. Because in every one, I think, or at least 99% that I remember, these were all done at night. This guy was doing this in a field, in a pen, in broad daylight.
Probably during work hours.
Could have been. Yeah, well, that's what he said, actually. He said that this was the effect of some medication he was taking.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that wasn't the kind of drugs I was talking about. But
We don't know what type of medication he was taking.
It's fuck it all, 25 milligram.
Yeah.
Do you remember Horseman Baby?
Horseman Baby.
The guy that wanted to make a Horseman Baby.
Oh, my fucking God. I forgot about that guy. We need to bring him back up again. We need to start doing, I used to do this where I would hit.
Where are they now?
Yeah, well, we used to have a, oh, there it is. I still have a random article link where you'd click it and it would just take you to a random article.
Yeah.
And I used to click
do that all the time.
Well, I used to do it, and then whatever came up, I would post it over on Facebook. Like, remember,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need to look up Horseman Baby and see what happened with him. Well, this gentleman here, he got busted and charged with indecent exposure and crimes against nature.
Right.
And that was kind of it with this particular guy.
Schlosser is German for locksmith, which
I
is
thought
kind
Schlong.
of interesting. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought there'd be a better joke there, and that's why I went to the translator and figured it out.
You know what's kind of weird about that is there's this
Keep
game.
your key out of the pony locks, boy.
Well, there was this game I'm playing called Kingdom Come, which is a medieval type simulator. And without getting too much into the plot, but in one particular quest you have to do, and this is actually related. And one of the quests you have to do, you're investigating some women that are practicing witchcraft. And so you follow them out into the woods, and they end up performing some type of a ritual where they're trying to bring Satan to them. And they drug you when you confront them. And they end up turning into animals, and they want you to fuck them. And you have to pick one of the animals to have sex with. And when you position yourself behind which animal you pick, it turns into the lock-picking mini-game used when you're lock-picking doors and chests in the game.
That is topical and very bizarre.
The fact that you just said that, I was like,
what a coincidence.
What a coincidence. Yes, you actually picked the lock to animal vagina in the game Kingdom Come. So.
I look at some of the things in video games that I play, and really, really wonder about the people that program some of this shit. And some stuff in Elder Scrolls Online, and I won't go into any details, but some of the stuff I'm just like, you guys are going to end up on the demon one day on the front page.
Those are the same people that film dudes fucking a horse.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be stuff they'll be showing. You know that they're going to keep that video and they're going to talk about this for years.
Oh, cocktail party conversation.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Next one out of Houston, Texas as well. This one is the gentleman who, 61-year-old. I ain't even going to do this because Jaded would love for me to try to pronounce this last name of Indesoka. Why do you put an N and the D at the very beginning?
I don't know. The other name has got an N and a T right next to each other, and I don't think I can pronounce that either. So let's just say Sabine and Marcel, because those are first names that are not too hard to say.
Yes. We'll just say yes. Well, I'm going to call him the man.
Or the murderous
woman.
prick fuck in the kid.
Yeah, 61-year-old Jean-Pierre, whatever, called his estranged wife to say that he had left her a present. She had just previously that day dropped off their 1-year-old and 8-year-old for him to watch. They had been separated. I can't remember how long they've been separated after like 6 or 7 years of marriage, and she had dropped their children off at his apartment so she can go to work and so he could visit his kids. And he called her at work multiple times and finally got her and told her that he had killed the kids and left her a present. And so she called police and went to the apartment, and sure enough, they found the dead bodies of an 8-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl. And, of course, Jean-Pierre was not there. He wasn't found until the next day, where he was in a car with a self-inflicted gunshot wound that, of course, did not kill him. And he was
incompetent bastard.
Just coward. He had no plans on killing himself. So he was taken to the hospital where he admitted eventually that he had slit the children's throats and told them that the little boy, before he died, kept apologizing to his father for whatever he had done, and that the 1-year-old just kept crying. And
sure.
So he's been charged with 2 counts of capital murder.
What was the present?
Oh, I think the present was, and I should have specified that it wasn't the kids being dead. I think it may have been that, but I think it was also a note that he had left, and I can't believe that I forgot to put this in here, but I think he left a note that basically said that the deaths of these kids were all her fault. I think it was this guy. It could have been another guy that killed his kids.
It says he left a note in which he said that she would be the one to, quote, carry the burden of her children's souls.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
That
Thank
is
you.
not a very good present. I'm just saying.
No.
So pretty shitty present. That's probably the type thing that is the reason why they're estranged.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that the mugshot, or is that like a Facebook picture?
That's
He's
definitely a driver's license.
Okay, I was gonna say he's grinning awful big.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not grinning like that in a mugshot after.
No, you can usually always tell the blue backgrounds are usually
Right.
some type of driver's license, but nope. So he's gone. But we had a lot of this week, and I didn't even report on all of them. But there was 2 other cases in the news this week of men who killed their children to spite, I guess, their estranged wives. And one of them was really bad. He killed the girl with a weight.
Damn.
Let's see here. Next one out of York, South Carolina. This was yours. This one got a lot of play, especially on Facebook. This was the homeless gentleman where the lady was doing him a favor to get him out of the rain, and he ended up showing his pud to a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, this guy is like the worst house guest in the damn world. So it was an unnamed lady down in York County, South Carolina. And they need to not name her because it'd probably be a bunch of people showing up on her lawn telling her she's an idiot. But so she sees this Leonard Dale Dover, this homeless guy, and you look at the mug shot on the screen there or on the site. He's a pretty wacky looking dude. She sees this guy get caught in a rainstorm, apparently a really bad rainstorm, and she felt bad for him, so she invited him into the house so he could get out of the rain. And I mean, that's, as I said in the write-up, that's perfectly laudable that you would want to help someone that's getting rained on, that's homeless. I think that's great. I don't have, anything negative or funny to say about that at all. But for some completely insane reason that I don't understand, she decided to go to the store and left her 13-year-old daughter alone with this guy. And this is a guy that she doesn't know. And, if you look at the statistics, and I cited some on the write-up from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, they said of homeless adults staying in shelters, an estimated 46%, quote, live with severe mental illness and or substance use disorders. And that's 50-50. That's flip a coin. And she doesn't know this guy. And what she did is she went to Walmart to buy some groceries. And I guarantee you she was going to buy groceries to fix this guy something to eat, to fix them all something to eat, to let him eat with them, break bread with the guy. Obviously, this is a really nice lady, not the brightest mother in the world by any means, but obviously a nice lady. So while she's gone to the grocery store, this guy, I guess he figures, hey, things are going my way. It was raining. Now I'm out of the rain. I got a meal coming, so I'm on a roll. I hadn't gotten lucky in a while. Hey, little lady. And he offered to pay her for a few sex acts that they didn't specify. We can probably pretty much guess what they are. Several, we know the list. We're all adults here. And she said no, and got her cell phone out and started filming him making these requests, I guess, gathering evidence or maybe something to show to her little friends. I don't know. I don't know the girl. And when mom gets home, well, before mom gets home, I'm still shopping. This guy, she's obviously not going to do what he wants, even for money. And so he's just like, screw it. I'm going to do it myself, and gets it out and starts spanking it in front of this 13-year-old girl. And so when mom does finally get home, the girl tattles and says, this guy wanted me to do this. And he wanted me to do that. He pulled it out. He spanked it. She calls the cops. The cops come. They arrest him, take him to jail. And he's well known to them. They've arrested him for drug offenses, disorderly conduct, violating judge's orders, probably half a dozen other things. So he's in jail now for attempting to commit a lewd act with a minor. And the little girl is probably fucking traumatized. And hopefully the mother's kicking her own ass around the house for the next month, because who in the hell would leave a 13-year-old girl? I mean, shit like that is why some of the nasty, murderous stuff that's on this website happens. She's lucky that that's all that happened, and she came home and her 13-year-old girl was fine, other than being traumatized.
She left the kid at home so he wouldn't steal her shit.
Yeah, and I get that, but there's ways around that too. I mean, I
don't
personally
invite homeless people into your house.
I would not have a problem with telling someone, hey, I don't know you. I'm sure great guy, but I don't know you. Understand, I'm going to the store. I got to take my kid. You're going to have to wait out here under the carport until we get back. There's ways around leaving you, and I completely get that. When I wrote it, I was like, I know why she left the kid there, but jeez,
I just went and picked him up. I drive by him every day.
Well, and you definitely, however you handle it, it can't end with your kid being alone with.
Shit ain't gonna end with me being alone with them. Like if people got mental problems.
Well, like I said, statistically, that it's a coin toss, and the thing of it is, too, that's among a sample of the population of people that are in shelters. Homeless shelters don't just let anyone in. If people come in there and they're drunk, they're disorderly, they act up, you can get blacklisted at a homeless shelter. You can get banned, and so there are some people that are so problematic and probably more prone to mental disorders and drug use. Why they're problematic that you're not even looking at that being part of the statistical sample in that. We don't know anything about this guy except that he's got a history of legal run-ins.
Being in York, South Carolina, I bet he was known as a harmless old drunk that everybody's known for years, and then she went and found out the dark side of Leonard Del Dover.
Yeah. Dover done did it, and he did. And she'll never get that shit out of the carpet. She's going to have to rip the carpet out, or that's going to be every time she looks, that's going to remind her, you're an idiot.
I thought it was funny, too, that the daughter, although she may be traumatized or not, I like the fact that the first thing she did was just start filming it with her cell phone. I wonder if she was we say she was traumatized because she was 13. But
but it might not be.
I wonder if she was laughing, that she thought that was the funniest shit she ever seen.
I mean, she might have been filming it to show to her friends. Who knows?
That's what I'd have done. Hell, I'd have done that now.
We know.
I'd have done that if somebody did that today.
Well, I tell you what, the cops took the phone. They seized the phone as evidence. I saw in one article. So that's what that gets you.
And now she's pissed off because she ain't got no cell phone.
Yeah. And lost the jack off video.
Yep.
Denver, Colorado. This one is still ongoing. There wasn't a lot of details as far from what I already have. I already checked for an update on this and did get some rumors, but I haven't have anything confirmed. This was out of Denver, Colorado, where a 7-year-old boy by the name of Jordan Vaughn went missing Monday afternoon as he was out playing in his neighborhood. They found him the next night in his home, dead. His body had been carefully hidden. And by the next morning, they had arrested a 16-year-old girl who lived in the house and have taken her into custody on suspicion of first-degree murder. And that's been about it. They have not said how Jordan died. They have not given out, at least that I saw, the actual relationship of the 16-year-old girl to Jordan. I had assumed sister. But I don't know the dynamics of the house. So I don't know if these were like foster kids or whatnot. I don't know. And the police chief had said something in regards to the family when asked were they being cooperative. He said they were to a point.
Right.
And I think that has to do with something I didn't put in there. The reason why they searched the house, they had to get a search warrant before they could do it that night.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So they weren't that cooperative.
Correct. So, but I don't know that was why he said that, but that I do know that was one of the details I didn't put in the article. Now, what I did find out was that somebody posted on Twitter that one of the people related to the family said that the 16-year-old was actually Jordan's aunt.
Right, I saw that.
So that was the only other details I could find, aside from some people describing the boy as being, fun-loving, smiling type kid, more right. Personal stuff. But no details on how he was killed, how he was hidden, and who the 16-year-old girl actually is. But
I'm not making. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but I would almost bet that the person that said that it was his aunt was probably telling the truth. That was probably correct.
It said it was from a tweet that the boy's mother sent out, but obviously that's secondhand. I haven't seen the tweet.
Yeah, she deleted it, I think.
Yeah, well, and with good reason. You don't want to run your mouth in the middle of a police investigation because they're going to come knocking on your door, and you don't want them knocking on your door pissed off, even over just having said something on social media. I was just going to say, and I'm not making light of it at all, but it's always he was a sweet kid. He was a wonderful kid. You never hear, he was a little bastard, and statistically statistically that it's true probably at least half the time.
Yeah. This kid, he looks pretty. His pictures and stuff, I think they may have been fairly accurate. I know that there's some neighborhood kids were saying that he always played out with by himself. There was some personal stories from people that knew the kid from the neighborhood. So that's where I was starting to think that, well, maybe it wasn't his sister, because you would think that they would at least at some point in time, even though there's an age difference there, would have been seen together, but supposedly they weren't. But I'll update this one as it goes forward. I know August 14th is the next her court date is when she'll be formally charged. And I know there was another article where the police had said something about that they needed to determine if the death was intentional or accidental. But the fact that they got her on suspicion of first-degree murder means that I guess they already assumed that she had done something that wasn't necessarily accidental. But we'll find out on August the 14th that they changed that charge.
Yep.
Let's see here. Mom encouraged boyfriend to fatally beat her 2-year-old son. This was kind of a standard child abuse story where a 2-year-old boy in Florida was getting his ass handed to him by his mother's boyfriend. And he had already been arrested after he died from a pretty good beating. When they took him to the hospital, and he had the standard long-term healing, not healing injuries, all signs of systematic physical abuse. And so they arrested the boyfriend and charged him, and then found out through some text messages that his mother, Shannon Short, was not only aware of the beatings her son was taking, but actually encouraged them. I think in one of the text messages that they found that she had sent to her boyfriend, she instructs him to fuck him up. So she's
Jesus Christ.
Right. So now she has also been charged with a slew of charges related to his death. Cute kid. But
well, yeah, they're always cute.
Yeah. He took a beating though. I mean, he really took a beating. And his last days, supposedly they were saying that he was doubled over, which would turn out later to be some injury to his bowels.
Well, you know how hard it is to keep a 2-year-old down. I mean, come on, they're tough.
Well, they didn't even keep this one down because he was supposedly was acting weird. The mom said he was acting weird, doubled over. So she gave him some antibiotics and went and smoked some weed.
Well, that always makes the kids better.
Yeah. Ah, what a bunch of fucking idiots.
So he had a lacerated bowel that led to peritonitis.
Oh yeah,
which is nasty, and brain hemorrhaging. So he got beat just all over. Yeah,
he didn't have that was a long, prolonged, painful death that kid went through.
Absolutely.
And then our last story that actually has some updates. It was kind of a mystery in the Birmingham, Alabama neighborhood where a little girl was found wandering the neighborhoods, 3 years old. She was wandering around, knocked on a neighbor's door, crying about her grandparents who were watching her. She had blood-stained clothes, so they called police, who went to the grandparents' home and found the bodies of Mary Holt, 67, and Joe Steve Holt, 68. From all accounts, a very nice, funny, happy-go-lucky couple who watched their daughter's kid on occasion. And
just retired probably from their ages. Just retired, gotten to the point where they've worked and they can enjoy themselves.
Probably. Wasn't a lot of info at the time, aside from their deaths being investigated as homicides, and that there was no forced entry into the home, which had a lot of people, of course, obviously speculating on family members, which wouldn't be that far off the mark, because that's normally what happens. But it turns out that there was an update that their car, which was not being reported at the time, because that was smart, and I mean that for real, but their car was actually had been stolen. So they had been on the lookout for it, and it was found in Florida, driven by this lady here that I'm putting. Oh, wow. Great picture. That's just unbelievable. Here she is. We'll do this one. There she is. Kristen Goulion. The car was found in Florida, illegally parked in a roundabout. She was seen by officers returning back to the car and trying to drive away when they stopped her. And she said that her daddy told her that the thing to do in cases like this was shut the fuck up. So she did.
At least her daddy taught her something right.
Yeah, he did. So I don't know if she had anything to do with the actual couple, even though I think, and I may say some of this wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, she does have roots in Birmingham, Alabama. But supposedly she also has past charges of receiving stolen property. And that is one thing she did tell the police, that this was not her car, that she was borrowing it from a friend, which some people was like, yeah, well, right, whatever. Well, then it turned out that they've now made a second arrest of Zachary Phillips, 23. He was in a stolen Mustang being driven by yet another female who crashed the car, of course, when she was being chased by police. And he tried to run and got bit by a canine unit officer and is in the hospital at the moment being treated for that. But he is also...
He looks like a wonderful young man.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's also now been tied to the murders of the Holtz. And some internet people went digging around on Facebook, and I may get this part wrong here too, because I found this out right before we went on. I think the connection is this gentleman here, Zachary, has a kid with Kristen.
What is wrong with that kid's eyes, man?
Oh, you saw the picture?
Take that picture down. That is grossing me out. Holy crap.
What is the one when he's wearing the glasses?
No, his eyes are like, there's one on each side of his fucking head. It's amphibious, man. It's disgusting.
I was talking about Kristen. I was talking about Kristen's kid. I didn't know you were talking about Zachary.
No, that dude is, wow.
Well, if they've got a kid, I bet it's an interesting looking kid, unless it takes after the mama.
God, something out of SpongeBob fucking SquarePants, man. That
More
is
like
nasty.
a Hills Have Eyes type of look from the nose up.
Wow.
But anyway, they haven't released any further info on these two and how they may or may not be connected to the murders, aside from they did have possession of their car. So that's going to be an interesting one to follow up on, because they didn't talk about how they were killed or anything like that. So
right, and I mean, a lot of times with evolving stuff like this, and you alluded to it. You know, they don't say a lot of what they know. They don't talk about a lot of what they know because it's an active investigation, and they don't want to give away, information that they know for strategic purposes and for other reasons. So a lot of times with these things that you don't get the detail until later. But glad they got him anyhow. Unfortunate. I guess, I don't know, 2 years old. Do you remember that? Do you not remember that? I don't know.
Yeah, that might be the only thing that works in her benefit.
I hope not.
She won't remember.
I hope not.
Yeah, well,
because that's shitty.
Yep, it is. Even if she doesn't remember it, she's always going to be told about it.
Right. You're the one. And you were so brave. You wandered down the road in bloody pajamas and went and got the police. And she's like, quit telling me this shit. I'm having nightmares from it.
Yeah, there's a picture on the video that I'm not playing right now, but you can see the screenshot, and they got a little photo of her going into or towards a police car, and
I saw that.
Yeah, too tiny. But yeah, so that was at least for the week as of Friday, the top 10 stories for the week. I know we have some other ones that will probably show up. For next week. We got some pretty good ones, especially that Florida feud, which I had never heard of before.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man. That'll be something to look forward to next time.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be back up. And then we also have the roofer. That it won't show up next week, but this was in Wisconsin.
I'm really surprised it wasn't this week.
I know it didn't get any play. I was kind of surprised, only because I don't think we've had this weapon used before. But this was a roofer who killed a coworker with a circular saw, and we've not had that before. That I could remember, we had not had that before.
Not that's ringing a bell with me either. Everything else, but not a circular saw.
And I think that was it for the new ones. I know we had that Virginia woman. I think we talked about her last week, the one that shot her 2 kids.
I'm still seeing that I keep refreshing and I'm still seeing that one. So,
well, I just updated a caching plugin, and so I don't know if I'm getting some goofy shit on my end that's different from everybody else. But yeah, that was and now I'm seeing it in the list. But this was the woman, what was her name? Youngblood, Veronica Youngblood, who called 911 to admit that she had just shot her 2 daughters. And when police showed up to her home, they found she wasn't lying, and that her 5-year-old was dead at the scene, and her older sister, oh wow, I said her old sister. Jesus Christ, I got to fix that. Her older sister was still alive and rushed to the hospital, where she was in critical condition. Now, that was on August 7th, so I don't know, and I'm going to find out right now if there was any update if that girl ended up actually surviving, or if she... she was a teenager, and she was still alive 2 days ago.
Well, that's good. Hopefully that's good. I mean, be shot in such bad condition that death might be better. I mean, that happens sometimes, but hopefully one of them will make it. You look at her mug shot, those are just some cold, dead fucking eyes.
Yeah, she's got some good-looking mug shots, not mug shots, but shots on Facebook. It looks like the motive behind this was she's been in a long custody battle with the father of the children, and per the custody agreement, the father has to move to Missouri. I know Jaded wants to retire there. But he has to go to Missouri to work, and she was being ordered by a judge that if she wanted contact with her kids, that she would have to as well transplant and move to Missouri, and she did not want to go.
Apparently she really fucking didn't want to go.
Right, and she did not want to go. And it's almost like, I don't want to excuse anybody for killing their children, but when you find out that they were going to have to move to Missouri, you're like,
That's rough. It's rough.
It's a tough one. But they were supposed to start moving this month, so more than likely this was her answer to having to move to Missouri. Now it looks like...
Not now.
I just pulled up. It looks like that the focus of the shootings has now turned to woman accused of shooting daughters bought Glock at a Northern Virginia gun show.
Huh.
Yeah, I saw somebody...
Gotta work that in somehow.
Oh, yeah. Well, I already seen a commenter on another story was informing everybody that if you didn't know this, but at gun shows, there's a lot of trunk deals being done in the parking lots. And now, of course, I can't say 100% that does not happen. I can just tell you, just from not only being at gun shows, but knowing people who actually sell at gun shows, I have not ever heard anybody want to risk what happens to you if you get caught doing that in a parking lot. So, and I don't even know why anybody would do that. Maybe back in the day, but in today's day and age, I don't think that's like a rampant thing that happens. Where
I've been to plenty of gun shows, and I've not seen that. I think that the other thing is, and I don't know the details in the case, but if she doesn't have a criminal record and she doesn't have a psych record, and if there's not a reason for her not to own a firearm, she could have bought it and passed. They do an insta check.
Oh no, there's no doubt she legally bought this gun. This is just the alarmist headline.
Oh, I got you. Right.
To scare people that, this basically could have said, woman accused of shooting daughters bought Glock legally.
Well, here's what I say, and I point to the demon. She didn't, if she hadn't bought that firearm, that would not have stopped her from killing those kids.
Oh, no.
I mean, hit random article, you click it 3 times, you're going to run across someone killing a kid with a knife.
Well, I want to see a headline that says, woman accused of stabbing daughters bought knife set at IKEA.
Right.
Because that would be just as informative and ridiculous as this particular headline is on Channel 4 Washington.
And we would know that she has shitty taste in knives.
I thought IKEA sold decent knives.
I don't know.
I don't either. Don't go there.
I think she should have to go to jail in Missouri.
Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
No, not even go to jail. They just have to. It'd be like the end of Goodfellas. She just has to move there.
You're going to be put on house arrest in a trailer park.
You're giving her a trailer?
Are
you shitting me? A shack.
Okay. A shack. Okay. Well, ought to be easy enough to find a shack in Missouri.
With a bathtub out front.
Okay, listen.
Where all the neighbors can get a gander.
Here's the more detailed part. It says that the now divorced couple still lived together at a townhouse so that they could both be part of the girls' lives. He was retiring from the Navy this week, and under a court agreement, the entire family was relocating to Missouri so both parents could stay involved in the girls' lives. Her ex-husband agreed to pay Youngblood rent and her other expenses. But Youngblood recently moved into the new apartment after filing court papers saying she didn't want to go to Missouri and she'd found a new job here and wanted to get primary custody of the 5-year-old daughter. Which I think that she lost all that because they were just in court recently.
Right.
Wow.
So
man.
it was the old story. See it a million times on the website. I can't have them. Nobody can have them.
Yeah. Crazy, man. But anyway, yeah. I'm sorry I skipped over that story. I didn't see it in the list. But yeah.
Well,
so
it was bouncing around.
That was the top 10 stories for the week. And while I had Jaded on. And I was going to talk to you about this later after we go off, but I did want to at least tell you and anybody else who's listening, I know that you and me have read a couple of the same books recently. I know we read Chalkman, Woman in the Window, and I just read one called Cabin at the End of the World.
Ooh, that one's on my reading list.
Okay, I'm almost done with it. And you'll like this one.
You should probably send it to me.
Okay. I think you'll like this one. Now, I like Chalkman was pretty decent, and for anybody who hasn't read that one, I thought that they were going to, I thought this was going to be another one of those Stranger Things type books where people are now all hyped on basing things in the 80s in their childhood, like It and that type of deal. And while it does have part of the story takes place in the past and part of it in the future, it doesn't do any of that nostalgia crap that not that I mind the nostalgia stuff, but you don't want every book doing it. And he didn't do that in that book. Do you remember him doing any nostalgia type things in regards to pop culture? He didn't do anything like that.
No.
So that wasn't too bad. I liked Woman in the Window. You didn't like that one.
I thought it was stupid.
And that was about a woman. It was basically Rear Window. Basically, a woman stuck in her house sees a murder across the street, and her
cliche, overdone,
and her trying to convince everybody she's not crazy. I thought it was fine.
Well, that's 'cause...
Well, you like late Stephen King books, so.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Stephen King. In the past, I don't know what the fuck happened to him in recent times.
How far back are we going with this? Because if you go far enough back, I'll support you on that.
I think Stephen King
before the accident.
Yes, it was after the accident.
He had an accident.
Yeah, bad
Somebody
one.
ran him over.
Yeah.
Well, see, he probably got his head bent or something.
Apparently so.
I think it just changed his. I think it changed his outlook on life. I mean, Dean Koontz running you over like that, and
he's like, I got to get ahead somehow. I got to kill this son of a bitch.
But he's been very, very hit or miss. But more miss for me afterwards. He has had some like the JFK book, the assassination one. I can't remember what 1963. I can't remember the name of it. And some of his short story stuff has been fine, but his novels, I absolutely am just having a lot of problems with them.
Well, especially now with politics.
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah. So in Discord, Visited by Voices just said King's reign ends at misery. And I feel like that's probably a pretty good place to drive the stake in the sand.
Well, I'll tell you where I first noticed that something was up, and that was Tommy Knockers. I read
that was even pre-accident.
No, but there was something up then. I think that was his Coke days. I think that was his Maximum Overdrive directorial days. He had a very bad cocaine habit, and I think it showed up very, very much so in Tommyknockers. There was something just off with that book in general, no matter who wrote it. But
he wrote a book, and it came out probably a couple of decades ago now. It's called On Writing.
Oh yeah.
And it's partially autobiographical and partially about the craft of writing. And it's a really good book. It's a really good read. But he talks about his addiction in there, and he actually talks about Cujo. He was doing so much coke and drinking so much alcohol that he literally, he said he did not remember writing most of Cujo. He wrote most of the damn thing in a drug haze that he doesn't even remember it. And to me, number one, that's sad. But number two, if that's true, and I've got no reason to think it isn't, that just goes to show how much raw talent the son of a bitch has. You know what I'm saying?
He relapsed with Sleeping Beauties. He is.
Yep. I tried,
so
Jaded. I tried.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
That's the first. Well, actually, now that I got 2 Stephen King books, I have not been able to fucking finish.
Yeah,
Sleeping Beauties literally pissed me off.
I like Dr. Sleep. I did finish that one, and I didn't hate it. But although now talking about it, I don't remember a fucking thing about it except for what the topic was. And it was that crime book he tried writing that I could not finish. I absolutely I could not finish the first fucking book. I couldn't, and I rarely put books down.
Well, I was excited for Sleeping Beauties because, I mean, it sounds fucking amazing. If they had done it right, it would have been a great book. But, oh, my God, I think I'm like 6 chapters in, and that has been shelved on read for when there are no more words.
Well, I will shake his hand for his coke addiction for Maximum Overdrive, one of the best movies ever made, and one of the most accurate depictions of North Carolinians ever put to screen.
and yeah, I won't go into any. I was going to tell a story, but I'm not going to do that. So, one thing I'll say is, as far as Stephen King goes, and I don't know if y'all have read it, but Black House, and back in the day, if people remember, him and Peter Straub wrote The Talisman. And at the time, I was a big Stephen King fan. When this thing came out, I was younger, and I read a lot of Stephen King then. I followed everything, everything. He would always have the new book come out in hardback coming up on the Christmas season because he was smart. And I'd always get that for Christmas. So him and Peter Straub get together and they write The Talisman, and everyone thinks, and all the scuttlebutt, the literati that talk about literature and all that, they're saying, oh, these 2 top-tier horror writers, this is going to be the most astounding horror novel ever written. And they turn out this brilliant dark fantasy piece. And I mean, it's a brilliant book. It's a great book, but it's not what they thought it was going to be. So, all the reviewers or some of the reviewers that got proven wrong were all, sort of pissed off about it. And it was just funny for me to watch because they all got fooled. So fast forward 15 years or whatever it is, they write another book together. And this time all the pundits are like, oh, yes, this is going to be, the sequel to that. And it's going to be the best dark fantasy that's ever been written. And they wrote the sickest fucking horror thing that either of them have ever written, I think. So
gorgeous books. Loved them.
If you haven't read Black, it's King and Straub. It's just fantastic.
I like the Talisman will always always hold a special place in my heart, and to attest to that is the fact that there are scenes in that book that are still as vivid in my memory today as they were when I read them. Which a lot of books I read, I might be able to tell you the plot. And whether or not if I liked it, The Talisman, I can still describe certain things that happened in that book. It was so good.
I'm like that with The Dark Tower.
Yeah. Dark Tower is the same way. But more so with The Talisman, I think it hit me right at the right time, at the right age. I think everything about it just captured I don't know. Just I'll always count that as one of my top tier books, which leads me to nothing that good, but Cabin at the End of the World. You'll dig that one, and it's and this isn't giving anything away because it's on the back of the book, but it's basically the premise is like, what if you were in your house with your husband and your kid, and a group of people come into your home and tell you that they're not going to make you do it, they're not going to hurt you, they're not going to force you, but if one of you do not willingly sacrifice yourself at the hands of the other, the world's going to end. Well, of course, you're going to think they're a bunch of kooks, right? But what if all of a sudden what they say starts looking like it's actually true? And that's the premise of this book. So it's been a very interesting read. If I had any complaints with it so far, is he gets a little wordy in places. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I'm sure you have, where you can see, oh shit, they're about to get wordy, and you can just sit there and scroll through some of the pages and not miss a bit. Yep.
I try not to do it, but yeah.
Well,
I can't help but do it.
I completely get it.
Well, this was I hate doing it, and that would be my only complaint with this book. But otherwise, that's still a testament to the book on that. I'm willing to actually skim it to keep getting to the end of it. It's actually pretty good. But he gets a little bit descriptive where he really doesn't have any need to be descriptive. And I don't know if it's padding or what. But yeah, I found myself multiple times kind of skimming through some of the pages to get back on track. But I'll get it to you.
I sure hope that is on my Kindle here pretty soon.
I'm sure it will be, and I got a few more too. So, but I was telling, I don't know if you listened to this earlier, and I know we haven't talked in the last week or so, but in our draft section, I know you probably forgot what that looks like, but in our draft section, All Man Metal has got some. He's got some album reviews in there, because we're talking about bringing back not necessarily those full take all day movie type reviews we used to do and book reviews, but more or less the recommendation stuff. So
sweet.
Yeah, I'll get you some of the ones that I've got currently, and if you ever feel like just throwing up a blurb, and by recommendation I mean seriously just the synopsis of the book and whether you would recommend it or not. And if you got anything you want to say about it, go ahead. And don't even worry about the ones that suck,
Morbid's taking it back to the roots.
I want to get back to getting some of that other stuff back in there. And especially since Old Man Metal's already got some of these written, it'll light a fire under me to get some, because I've watched a lot of stuff, and I know you and me both have read a bunch of stuff over the last, when's the last time we put anything up like that? 3-4 years ago?
Well, and what we did at one point were disappeared. I don't know if you ever put them back up or not.
They should all still be there. I don't know what would happen. Oh, you're talking about the link to all the reviews?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the reviews themselves were gone for a minute. I don't remember how long ago that was.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that plugin I was using that organized all our reviews in alphabetical order, it expired so badly that it was actually hurting the site, so I had to remove it. But I'll look and see if I can find something to put that back up again.
Well, I'll try to put a little something together about Black House since I brought it up.
Yeah, do it. It definitely can't hurt. I figure if we can get that mix back in there again, maybe we won't get hit so hard by these advertisers. Although I know some of them didn't drop us because of our content as much as a bunch of whiny bitches ran to them and got them to drop us. But
whiny bitches.
Maybe we can lure them back.
Yeah, or if not, fuck them, and maybe we can just go. Yeah, just get some new ones. So. But anyway, I don't know if you guys got anything else you want to talk about. It is 12 o'clock, almost on the dot, but I am out of topics at this point.
Witching hour. I'm going to throw one thing out there real quick.
Sure.
Sierra Nevada every year does a Oktoberfest collaboration with a different brewery, generally a German brewery, and the results are usually pretty good. It's different every year. Actually, the results are usually fantastic. And this year, they are collaborating with Weihenstephaner, which they make my favorite beer. With all the craft beer that I drink, all the great stuff I've tried, my favorite beer is still something I was drinking 20-some years ago, Weihenstephaner Hefeweiss beer. a Hefeweizen. It's a German unfiltered wheat beer.
God damn,
But,
that's Jaded's favorite.
Hell yeah.
Well,
Love me some F.
so I'm here to tell you, Sierra Nevada, and it's dropping. I've got one in the fridge. It's getting cold. I'm gonna try it tomorrow. But so that's the one thing I was going through right there. Good Oktoberfest collab.
I'll have to keep an eye on it, but I'm sure my neighborhood food line ain't gonna have it.
Nope, you'll probably have to go to a bottle shop to get it. But you know, I know my guy's gonna have it, and he knows me. He'll probably have a case of it sitting there for me when I walk in there and decide I want a case of it. So I don't buy cases of beer usually, but something like that.
And I'm in Oregon. It's all about craft beer, so it's really hard to find Coors.
Absolutely.
Not that I drink that shit.
Whatever.
Thank you very much. I do not drink mountain piss water. But yeah, Oregon's got, I mean, there's something fucking new every day. So
Yeah, where I live, that's been well, I think it's not just where I live. I think any mid to big city right now has an influx of pop-up breweries that have shown up out of the blue, and right now we've got way too many. Not that's a bad thing, just meaning that it used to be one, and then it was two, and now I think we're up to 8 or 9, and I can't even keep track anymore of who's what and what they're putting out.
Well,
and hipsters will follow.
It's competitive, and I think you're starting to see, and will continue to see, and probably more down the road. Some of these guys are going to get shook out.
Yeah, I think, and from what I remember reading at one point, it was Wicked Weed really helped fuel a lot of these pop-up places, because they weren't necessarily trying to make a great beer as much as they want to be the next brewery to win the lottery and get bought by a big guy.
They did. And actually, Wicked Weed, if you talk to people up in Asheville that know the business up there, they'll tell you, we knew this was coming, because Wicked Weed went at it differently than most other breweries of the same size up there. They did. They got multiple outside cash infusions as they were growing. A lot of the breweries, they grow organically. Wicked Weed grew quickly and took advantage of outside funding to continue to grow. And the feeling up there amongst people is that's why they started the brewery, was to get bought. And that's sort of, I guess, along the lines of what you're saying. I'll say this: they make some fantastic beer.
Well, I'm going to keep an eye out on that Sierra one for sure.
Well, I'll let you know tomorrow. I'll pop it tomorrow. I'll shoot you an email or something, but I guarantee it's going to be good.
I just saw BB in our green room, and I don't know if that's Boston Burns or not.
I believe it is.
Is he wanting on to talk or say anything?
He hasn't said anything in the shout, so
okay.
I don't know. Maybe he's just lost.
Maybe
it happens.
We don't have enough people that are in here that I usually worry about saying it quite yet. But normally, just for anybody who may listen to this later, if you join our Discord server, there's a voice channel in there called Green Room. If you join it or log into it, we assume that you want to get on the show, and we can bring you on to talk. That's what that's normally there for. Not that I care if you're sitting in it or not, but just letting you know, don't be surprised if you may one day get thrown on the air when you're not expecting it.
We'll drag your ass in here.
Or drag you in. But anyway, I'm assuming not. I'm assuming he's just in there. So, but anyway, that's it for me. Everybody, thanks for tuning in and listening to once again to us ramble about these horrible, horrible stories. And we will be back again next week. And I think we're just going to stick with Friday for now until we hear otherwise. I don't know if Pagan missed the memo or something. I don't know, but I think Friday will be a good enough time. I know Metal's the same with me. Friday or Saturday works. This is usually working around Jaded's schedule. So
Saturdays usually work best for me, but
I thought Saturday was always the one where you had visitors.
Well, for the summertime, once it starts to cool off a little bit, then my Saturdays will be wide open.
Oh, okay. Then we might.
It's seasonal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I guess weekend is probably, it's either always going to be Friday or Saturday. So, but anyway. Like, subscribe, all that dumb crap, and we will see you back again next week, and hopefully we may start up a more reoccurring, shorter podcast here in the future. But I'm not going to bite off more than I could chew right now. But anyway, thanks everybody, and we will see you again next week.
Y'all take
Bye,
care.
guys.